Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Keith Wojcieszek. I am the Global Head of Threat Intelligence for Kroll and am based in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, I am not in D.C. today, in Buffalo, New York, only the best city in the world with the best bills, best savers, so there's no argument there. I've been with Kroll for 8 years, almost to the day, and prior to this, I worked for the U.S. Secret Service, where I was able to have the opportunity to work in the Secret Service's Cyber Threat Intelligence Program, along with one of my colleagues on the call today, Edward Currie. Today is May 28th, which is National Hamburger Day. So this is the perfect meal to kick off the summer. Hopefully it gets sunny here in Buffalo, which it never does, but that's okay. But also, did you know that today, well, this day in 1897, Pearl Waite introduced the world to Jell-O. So hamburgers and Jell-O, I mean, how can you possibly go wrong? So Ed George, I don't know if you heard about this week, but there was a cyber criminal who got away. I guess he ransomware. So with that, I am delighted to speak with you today. But before we get started, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session will be recorded and will be available after the briefing. We're using a new platform today on 24 for the presentation, and on your screen you'll be able to see the menu. The menu bar that's docked below the presentation screen. You can navigate the menu bar to access the chat, the Q&A, and any additional resources. Please add your questions in the Q&A tab, and we will address them either at the end of the webinar or during when others are talking. We want to get those answers out as quickly as we can. So at Kroll, we're always looking to provide thoughtful insights and great value to our clients to help them defend their organization against the latest cyber threats and improve their cyber maturity. We provide proactive, reactive, advisory, transformation, managed security services to support clients at every stage of the journey. So you need something in cyber, we are definitely here to help, as you all know. So today, we're going to take a look at the current trends that our threat intelligence team has collected and highlighted during the Q1 of 2025. As you can see by the agenda, which I'll forward here, as you can see by the agenda, we have a fabulous discussion for the next 45 minutes or so. And with that, Kroll is in a very unique position to deliver end-to-end cybersecurity solutions across several different service lines. We have a wealth of experience with over 650 cybersecurity experts on the Kroll team who are working around the globe with companies of many sizes, varieties of industries, and work with several cyber insurance carriers. This gives us tremendous visibility onto what's going on the front lines. So in today's session, we're going to go over the key trends that shaped the first quarter in 2025, and also dive into our frontline experience handling crypto-related cyber incidents. So the Kroll Q1 report that we're going to be talking about today saw a sharp rise in targeting cryptocurrency platforms, and we're going to be able to discuss it and talk about the Bybit incident and how attackers leverage social engineering and unauthorized access to execute a significant crypto threat. For those interested in regulatory chat, Ed Currie will discuss how regulatory pressure has intensified. With that, this is going to be exciting. I'm glad you're all here. And as you can see on your screen, we have some of the experts, not only in Kroll, but industry-leading experts joining us today to go into more detail and provide their expert analysis. We are joined by George Glass and Ed Currie. George, Ed, can you spend a few minutes introducing yourselves?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I'll go first. Hi, everyone. I see a few familiar names in the attendees. Hey, how's it going? I've been at Kroll for 4 years. Prior to that, I worked at RedScan, which came to Kroll via an acquisition, specializing in MDR services. The CTI work that we do is mostly around keeping up to date with threat actor activity, but building really good detections for malware and novel TTPs. I'll hand it over to Ed.
Thanks, George. Hello, everyone. As Keith mentioned, was with the Secret Service prior to coming to Kroll back in September of 2024. I was with the Secret Service over 20 years. I also worked with the United States Department of Treasury as one of their assistant inspector generals, and then finished my law enforcement federal career as the deputy director of the U.S. Capitol Police. And as I mentioned, retired back in September, now working in threat intelligence with Keith and George, with the emerging threats group. So back over to you, Keith.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, George. Yeah, we have experts upon experts, and the way we've transformed intelligence is leading in the industry. There's no argument there. That's just a fact. So what we're going to get into now is look at a lot of numbers today. We want to understand where we get those numbers from. Context is huge, and then we need to apply that to our analysis. So to provide you that, just want to give you a brief overview of how we're getting our numbers. So the collection of data and the reporting is based on data that is what we collect not only from the curated intelligence that Ed and George and the team, but our ongoing cyber incidents. So anything that comes in new, we're grabbing, we're looking, we're analyzing, and pushing out. The threat intelligence team targets engagements through the investigative life cycle from beginning to end to be able to share the most recent trends and threat actor activity. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. There are two types of reports. The one is the quarterly report that we do that gives the broader analysis. And then our monthly report, which is our spotlight, which is also on our website if you're interested. It talks about monthly trends and spotlights and industry every month. And I believe insurance is going to be coming up in the future one. So let's get started. So look at this slide here and looking at 2025 quarter one, there are different things. We need to understand how attackers gain initial access because it's such crucial information on how to mitigate. So valid accounts, you're looking at valid accounts there, 27%. This involves insider threats, individuals with organization, inside the organization who misuse their privileges. Then in a scenario, an example would be an employee had valid credential access, sensitive data, and shares it with unauthorized parties. So that was leading in the quarter one. Phishing, we all know about phishing, involves tricking individuals to clicking on malicious links. And we talk about this because it's so valuable, so important, especially in the mitigation and trying to educate individuals. External remote attackers exploit vulnerabilities and remote access to gain access, right? This method is about 15% of what we're seeing in quarter one. And then finally, looking at exploiting public-facing applications. This is rising up, looking at how vulnerabilities that attackers can exploit to gain access. Again, this is 12%. So looking at that, and you can see on there, looking most impacted industries, professional, manufacturing, tech, and retail. Really, these things are rotating. It kind of depends on the time of year, what's going on in the environment. We're seeing that. Ransomware variants, there's probably no new ones that you've seen. Looking at the top four that we've seen in the quarter one. Now, looking at the incident types, you see email compromise, 31%, involves phishing and or credential theft. The ransomware continues to be a major threat. It increasingly targets critical infrastructure and supply chains. We're seeing how supply chains are attacked in order to elevate their access throughout. Insider threat, we do see a rise in that. It includes both malicious and negligent users. This emphasizes the need for use behavior monitoring, access controls. Access control is so important for insider threat, especially we're seeing with what's going on in society today and people losing their jobs, getting laid off because of the economic, I would say, ups and downs, peaks and valleys we're seeing. So that can lead to some type of insider threat. Then unauthorized access. This is a result from either weak credentials or unpatched systems. Again, it highlights strong authentication in network segmentation as well. So by understanding all this data, all organizations can prepare and implement security measures to be able to protect against these threats. That's the goal. That's the key. So let's talk about the primary reason we're here today, looking at the growing crypto threat. And so looking at this, it's interesting that we've seen an uptick in malware being the initial access vector with web compromise, many of them because of the click fix or fake CAPTCHA technique. Now the CAPTCHA is everywhere and how they're doing the fake one, it's really interesting. So web compromise was leading the attack vector, threat actors exploiting vulnerable websites and client portals to gain the initial access, often led to credential theft, data breaches, and other types of system infiltration. So next we're going to take a look at the amount stolen in cryptocurrency and exchange. So there are reports that they use different techniques through all of these. Many attacks have been attributed to the DPRK, and much of the money has been lost to be laundered to use for other things, to fund other parts of either, you want to call it the cartel, you want to call it different types of threat actor groups. But these incidents are part of a broader trend where the threat actors target the human layer of crypto security. And again, it kind of goes back to the phishing, the email compromise, but this is more the transaction approval process in multi-seg environments. So looking at this is so important to understand kind of how cryptocurrency stolen is such a major threat that we're seeing today. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Ed kind of talk about some of the things that we have seen within the crypto world. So Ed, do you mind going into this a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Absolutely. So just to avoid any possible conflation or confusion of events and information, the previous statistics for the attacks did involve stolen U.S. dollar amounts from the crypto exchanges. But we also want to get into and make a side note to briefly discuss the current news about Coinbase, where the recent Coinbase hack involved a cyber attack that exposed personal data of a small percentage of users. So just earlier this month, Coinbase experienced a significant cybersecurity breach that resulted in the loss of customer account data and internal records. The threat actors obtained the data by bribing contractors and employees, primarily those in support roles outside the United States, at least according to Coinbase. The breach included names, addresses, emails, and potentially other sensitive information from compromised documents. According to Coinbase as well, no login credentials or passwords were compromised. The loss to Coinbase comes from Coinbase reimbursing their customers when their information was used to trick customers to send their funds to threat actors. Coinbase is currently cooperating with law enforcement, and the company estimates that the financial impact is between 180 million to upwards to 400 million US dollars. It's likely that this information that was taken will be weaponized for phishing, as Keith was mentioning a statistic on phishing, and fraud purposes that could pose a physical risk to those with high account balances due to the exposure of their data, which similarly was also mentioned in a weekly that we had just recently, where we saw in early May the Lockbit breach, which exposed victim information in their dealings with the threat actor could be used for further exposure or further compromise and complicate victim security efforts. There is past and current regulatory scrutiny and implications as well with Coinbase. In this case, DOJ is the regulatory body investigating the case, where their DOJ is looking into targeting the threat actors. Initially, the threat actors posed a ransom deal, and in response to the $20 million ransom they demanded from Coinbase, Coinbase in turn initiated a $20 million bounty for the information on the threat actors. But of course, the information would have to lead to the identification, location, arrest, and successful prosecution of the threat actors. Now, getting into Bybit, one of the investigations or the largest cryptocurrency heists, as Keith was mentioning, Bybit hack, which occurred in February 2025, was a massive cryptocurrency heist, which attackers stole approximately $1.5 billion US dollars worth of Ethereum from Bitcoin's or Bybit's cold wallet infrastructure. This incident in cybersecurity and cryptocurrency communities is considered to be the largest digital heist of cryptocurrency in cryptocurrency history. As far as like a breakdown of what happened, the attack was attributed to the Lazarus Group, also known as the Kroll threat actor, KTA 071, the notoriously known North Korean state-sponsored threat actor group. For those who don't know, they are known for targeting financial services, financial institutions to fund North Korean state agendas. And their involvement in Bybit attack was confirmed by the FBI February 26th. So more on the attack method, the earliest known malicious activity was identified February 4th when a developer's Mac operating system workstation was compromised, likely through social engineering. Again, as Keith was mentioning, as a threat vector. The threat actors gained access or initial access by compromising a developer's workstation associated with SafeWallet, a third-party multi-signature platform used by Bybit. This probably was achieved through social engineering tactics, as mentioned, and such as tricking the developer into downloading malware. Once the threat actor was able to get inside the developer's system, they obtained AWS session tokens and bypassed the MFA, the multi-factor authentication, to access the SafeWallet's AWS infrastructure, all happening on February 19th. The threat actors modified the SafeWallet interface to display legitimate action or transaction details while secretly altering the transaction destinations. Then on February 21st, when Bybit employees initiated a routine transfer from a cold wallet to a warm wallet, they unknowingly signed the manipulated transaction via a smart contract, allowing the threat actor to transfer the funds to their own addresses. The stolen Ethereum was quickly exchanged for other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and dispersed across numerous wallets to obscure their trail. Bybit, with the help of law enforcement authorities and blockchain organizations, they were attempting to track and recover the stolen crypto. The rapid laundering techniques makes it hard to trace and recover the stolen assets, where the threat actors moved approximately the aforementioned 1.5 billion in crypto out of Bybit's exchange. And as an ending note, the attack method, the attack method by Bybit initial access involved the use of LinkedIn recruiter scheme, the click fix tactic as part of the initial attack vector, which is attributable to TTP, used by Lazarus. Again, their involvement in Bybit being conferred by the FBI on February 26th. So what was Bybit's response? Bybit detected the unauthorized activity and isolated the compromised cold wallet. Bybit then initiated a forensic investigation with security experts. They stated that they all user funds were one-for-one backed and would be fully compensated. And they raised 447,000 Ethereum through loans and industry partner contributions for supporting that. The exchange implemented stricter security measures, including hardware authentication and AI-powered fraud detection. And with regards to implications and impact, the incident caused a significant dip in Bitcoin and Ethereum values. It impacted investor confidence in centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. The incident started discussions about the need for stronger security measures, regulatory oversight in the crypto industry, particularly Bybit, since they have been recently under regulatory scrutiny and in the past. And Bybit is a reminder of the security risks associated with cryptocurrency exchanges and the importance of well-established security protocols and individual user discipline and responsibility to security. So the changing crypto landscape. So moving to the regulatory landscape, in the U.S. in January 2025, crypto was declared a national priority, with President Trump's executive order in early 2025 declared, the administration declared digital assets and blockchain technology as a national priority. This included establishing, strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile, which kind of shows the U.S. commitment to leading digital asset strategy. The order also set stage for working groups on digital asset markets to further explore other possibilities. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, also known as FinCEN, the Financial Intelligence Unit for the United States, does require financial institutions to implement comprehensive security measures to comply with the Bank Secrecy Act, also known as BSA. The BSA requires institutions to take precautions against financial crimes, including reporting of like suspicious activities or transactions, and also maintaining records. These requirements are implemented through various means, including background investigations, MOUs, with organizations be able to see those suspicious transactions, and audits of financial institutions and their partners. For crypto exchanges, that process credit card payments, they must also adhere to PCI requirements, which mandates that they regularly test security system and their processes, and this requires this requirement applies to all entities that store, process, or transmit cardholder data, including those involved in cryptocurrency transactions. Also, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States, classifies digital assets as securities if they meet the definition of an investment contract, which includes offerings where investors expect profits based on managerial efforts by others. The classification typically triggers regulatory obligations, including registration requirements. In the EU, DORA applies to a wide range of financial entities, including crypto asset services providers and issuers of crypto assets. DORA covers traditional financial institutions like banks, investment firms, insurance companies, as well as the non-traditional entities such as CASP, which is the crypto asset service providers, which can withstand and cover from, or DORA aims to enhance the digital operational resilience of financial institutions to ensure they can withstand the recovery from ICT disruptions. And DORA also encouraged voluntary sharing of cyber threat intelligence among the financial entities. Relevant organizations in the EU need to carry out controlled assessments, more specifically threat-led penetration tests of their cyber resiliency. These tests are controlled assessments designed to evaluate the cyber resiliency and mimics like real-world cyber attacks. And also the threat-led penetration tests should be performed at least 3 times a year. However, specific requirement or specific frequency might be adjusted by like competent authorities depending upon the risk profile and operational circumstance. And it's preferable to run tests every year whenever you make changes to your ICT systems or any other significant changes to your IT systems. And then in the UK, the FCA authority considers crypto assets to be one of the main priorities. FCA is actively working on developing and implementing regulatory framework for crypto activities, including stable coins, with the goal of promoting consumer protection and integrity of the market. The FCA's focus includes areas like consumer risk management, transparency, fraud protection, and abuse of market. With regards to politics or political shifts and physical threats has been a rising concern. Recent politics in the U.S. particularly with the current presidential administration has built up momentum in the crypto industry worldwide. Moreover, we have seen a growing concern of companies in crypto industry, not just for their cybersecurity around crypto, but also their physical security. There are global rivalry concerns, and cryptocurrency, particularly related to its potential impact on international power dynamics and financial stability, such as challenge to the U.S. dollar and also sanction evasion. Compliance failures in the cryptocurrency industry are a significant driver of risk. Failure to comply with regulations like money laundering and know your customer can lead to fines. legal consequence, reputational damage, and even criminal charges for executives. The decentralized nature of crypto also presents unique compliance challenges that can be difficult for financial institutions to manage, particularly if they're not used to managing cryptocurrency activities, like tracing transactions, dealing with anonymity, and then the rate of the technology that's evolving. And then cryptocurrency, we've seen, or crypto kidnapping attempts are also showing a significant upward trend. Reports indicate that in 2025, in 2025 is on track for a record year of violent crimes against individuals involving cryptocurrency theft, including kidnapping. Successful ransom payouts in crypto-related kidnapping in Canada and Europe are attracting more to this activity. Plus, from a behavioral perspective, the perceived lower risk due to the digital nature of crypto compared to the traditional crimes contribute to the rise because of the attractiveness of the anonymity through the digital nature of crypto. And France has recently seen a particularly high number of incidents accelerating as a place for violent crimes against persons involving cryptocurrency. And lastly, the last of financial insights can be very costly when dealing with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency markets are notoriously volatile, and without understanding the risk and rewards, individuals can easily lose money, mostly due to price fluctuation. There are fees and complex transactions. The market is largely unregulated. Also, due to limited financial literacy, it can lead to organization being exposed to illicit activity and also other illicit schemes. And with the technology limitations, in organizations may not be able to make well-informed decisions that they're looking to make.
All right, thanks, Ed. I'll take it from here, and we're going to take a look at the malware that we're seeing in 2025. Just a reminder, malware was the second major threat type that we saw in IR cases in the finance and insurance industry in Q1 of this year. That came as a surprise even to me, to be honest. It's very interesting that we see such a sharp peak in malware, especially with all of the very fancy defenses that the finance and insurance industry can afford. So let's take a look at the malware trends that we're seeing. So I know there's lots of regular joiners in the attendees list here, but for those that haven't seen this before, this is sort of how we track our malware threats. We combine intelligence from open source, so that could be things like Yara scanning on VirusTotal, public detonations in Sandbox, and we compare that information with the information that we're collecting from the responder side of the house, the MDR side of the house, and our IR investigations, and some of our own bespoke scanning that we do to go and find these things out there in the wild, just to make sure that we're sort of in keeping with what the rest of the industry is seeing. And I think we're pretty much bang on with what a lot of other organizations are reporting here. I'll start from the bottom though, because that's a new one from us. Full Metal. That's stemmed from a supply chain attack where we saw the PD-Fast software hit with a supply chain attack, which then dropped a malware that we have decided to call Full Metal. Part one of our write-up for that is already on the Kroll blog, and we've got another one coming out fairly soon for that, which goes into all of the sort of the nerdy technical details and as a full explanation of why we're calling it Full Metal. This is a really interesting case because PD-Fast and other such things that we've talked about in previous quarterly reports, like the Chrome extensions, those supply chain attacks suddenly affect a lot of organizations all at the same time, and that was felt pretty heavily by us and a lot of our MDR customers. We started detecting that all over the place. Again, that's designed to be an information stealing piece of malware, but leveraging the supply chain of a very highly distributed piece of malware to go and collect all of that stuff all at the same time. There's some evidence that there's still some infected versions of PD-Fast out there. We still see drops occasionally, but just to really double underline this point. For it to make the top 10 should go some way to showing you just how much of that we were seeing in the first quarter of this year. The rest of the list, we've got a few sort of heavy hitters in here, a lot of loaders. So IDAT loader, especially, we're seeing a lot of that. Again, we've got some reporting on IDAT loader on the Kroll site as well. Again, lots of nerdy, gory details in there. The rest of the list is, as you can probably imagine from the trends we're seeing since at least this time last year, lots of information stealers, lots of malware, but that malware is designed to target identity. I think that's a really important point. The attackers can do an awful lot with some identity credentials, cookies, tokens that they're taking from these information stealer infections. That is then used to attack, usually via another vector. We're seeing far less of the sort of land and expand methodology where threat actors will land some malware and then there's some other custom malware to go and spread into the rest of the organization. We're seeing a lot more, I think in the industry, they're calling it malwareless attacks, where it's mostly living off the land binaries and deployment of information stealers. Luma Stealer, that still chops the charts. We've started to more closely track the clearfake as a specific delivery mechanism. Again, if you wanted to go and search the Kroll blog, you'd find a lot of coverage of clearfake. Clearfake is one of the sort of the pioneers of the click fix technique. Certainly not the first to use it, but maybe the first to make it famous. We've been talking about that for the last few webinars. It's hard to ignore, though, because of the amount of cases that we see with that. But clearfake makes an excellent use of the click fix technique, and it's still working great. It's still dropping things, and the stuff that it drops the most, as you can imagine, is information stealing malware, which is what makes up the rest of the chart. Well, we're going to keep talking about clearfake. Clearfake is very interesting. It uses a technique that makes use of the blockchain to deliver its malicious payloads. We've touched on this before, but I want to take a minute to really point out how such a prolific delivery mechanism uses blockchain to make immutable malicious payloads that can be reused over and over again by multiple different infected websites. So what is ether hiding? Well, ether hiding, this delivery mechanism essentially stores malicious JavaScript on the blockchain as part of a smart contract. That can then be used to execute that malicious code within a browser. It's self-executing. If there's a clearfake infected website, the JavaScript automatically loads. The malicious code can be defined by a threat actor, stored in the blockchain, and then essentially it's immutable, right? It can't be removed. It's always going to be there, and a threat actor can reach out, grab that malicious payload, and drop it into the site. That works as a really good way of hiding the initial clearfake infection from the usually legitimate website that's been targeted and compromised to run the clearfake JavaScript loader in the browser. That is a fantastic technique to be able to bypass defenses on both the website itself and maybe any sort of network interception that might be happening between the victim and the malicious website. It can be very hard to inspect that traffic, especially the way that clearfake does it. So a bit of a breakdown about exactly how clearfake works to hide on the blockchain. So the clearfake actors will compromise a website. More often than not, we are seeing compromised WordPress websites. That doesn't necessarily mean to say it has to be a WordPress website, but there's always some kind of vulnerability in sort of a WordPress plugin or a theme or something like that. Or they could use compromised credentials in some way as well, or brute forcing an admin panel. Either way, the malicious JavaScript is added to the website, which loads the Web3 library for Binance. So the threat actors here are using the Binance API to go and fetch that malicious payload. When the victim visits the payload, it issues an ETH call to the smart contract, which then goes and grabs that base 64 and then loads that into the victim's browser. the code is then executed in the browser, and that is what tends to display the fake browser update message or fake capture technique that Keith mentioned earlier, that are so very, very effective at getting people to essentially compromise themselves by copy and pasting some malicious PowerShell code into the run window, or in some cases, download a update to the browser, which is just essentially Trojanized software. And that also means that the payload is really nice and configurable for the threat actor. They can configure that or sell on the access to that particular infected clear fake website. The threat actor that purchases that access may choose to install a stealer. They may just go for like a one-off ransomware deployment. Any other malware that the threat actor wishes to distribute can be used with this technique. And again, just to really sort of remind everyone just how difficult that can be to detect on the wire, because of these API calls that are going out and the nature of the way that the payload is run and loaded in the browser. The actual web page itself can be very difficult to detect by some detection technologies. Typically, on the detection side, you're waiting for the malicious PowerShell to be executed or the malicious payload to be downloaded and executed before that is detected in any way. Moving on to another case study. This is something that we worked on in Q1 of this year, and the malanalysis team and members of my team, including Dave Truman, worked very hard on this case. This particular case ended up with us discovering two new pieces of malware, that is Prelude and Delphis. And it's a very, very interesting case at the beginning of the year, which targeted a high net worth individual with highly custom malware. Because of the new or open source malware that was used, obviously the new malware here, Prelude and Delphis, and the use of Havoc C2, it meant that attribution in this case was actually very hard. It's possible that a new actor is responsible, or it could be an older group that's using new malware. But regardless, we're tracking the activity under the KTA 440 threat actor code. So this campaign was highly targeted, and like many of the things we've been talking about today, it actually starts with social engineering. In this particular case, the threat actor clearly knew a lot about the victim in question. And again, I think that speaks back to some of the things that we've seen previously with the Bybit hack. There's a very impressive amount of reconnaissance that goes into these attacks before they even begin to take place. And in this case, the threat actors were able to develop two new pieces of malware in order to exploit this particular victim. We've not seen those pieces of malware before, and we haven't really seen them in open source at all. So the user is contacted via social media, and they're asked to join a Discord channel, where that Discord channel is then used to further social engineer the victim into downloading a Trojanized installer. In this case, it was an MSI file. That Trojanized installer used a fake install screen. That fake screen is just essentially a timer with a progress bar that will eventually finish and display some kind of error message. In this case, the user is basically designed to say, oh, something went wrong with that. But obviously, in the background, two pieces of malware have been deployed here. The Prelude backdoor, that is essentially a backdoor that allows screen capture, some elements of a remote access tool capability, and the Delphis loader. The Delphis loader is what is responsible in this case to drop the Havoc C2 backdoor. Now that's an open source command and control piece of malware. It's designed for sort of adversary emulation and shared under the sort of for educational purposes only kind of moniker. These two pieces of malware are representative of a highly skilled attacker. And I won't go into all of the nitty-gritty details today because we simply don't have time. But we do have a blog up on the website about this that goes into lots of really nice and nerdy detail about it. Really, the key takeaway here is just how much time and effort was put into producing these two pieces of malware, how much the threat actor knew to bypass endpoint detection response tooling. Now, bear in mind, this is a high net worth individual. This isn't an enterprise environment, but nevertheless, the threat actor put the time and effort into building those capabilities into the backdoor and into the loader in order to get the Havoc command and control framework on there. Again, I'll leave you to go to the blog to find out about the rest of the story, but regardless, the threat actor was able to abscond with a pretty significant amount of cryptocurrency assets as a result of that attack. And with that, I will hand back over to Keith.
Yeah, thanks, George. Thanks, Ed. So a lot of stuff going on, all these threats and everything. You know, we had a question come up, and I thought, you know, I'd love to answer, but I think I want to get your opinion on this. You're talking about info stealers. They're rampant, right? I mean, it's horrible. We're seeing this on dark web. We're going on dark web. We're seeing information. I'm going to kind of go off a little bit here from the crypto part. We're dark web. They steal all your data. They're selling it. We've seen it for sale for like $2.50. And this access now, domain access and other kind of access is something that's a little more expensive. Again, you're talking, you know, not much more, but a little bit more. But George, one question that came in was about info stealers. This is a major concern. And what I know, we're talking about organizations, what we can take, and about some of the stuff we talked about today. But with info stealers, stealing credentials and getting access, what can they do to protect themselves? Like, I know people are nervous, and just kind of want to get your opinion specifically, and not just maybe just one or two, but I know you gave a good example of some of the malware stuff. But you know, you can click and point, they can drop it anywhere. Like, what can we do? How do we fix this?
Yeah, information stealers, they're very hard. Usually by the time they've been detected, they've already run, they've already executed in memory, and they've got the stuff they need. And essentially, you should consider all of your sort of cookies and tokens stored in the web browser to be gone. I do sincerely hope that there's going to be some more updates around web browser security soon to prevent a lot of this. What we do see is that web browsers like Chrome will update, and the threat actors will very quickly find a way around those security updates. So the best thing that organizations can do is really carefully audit the use of tokens. So reducing the time to live on a lot of these tokens is a very good idea. Reducing the time frame that the attackers have to reuse those tokens. So those are like session cookies, session tokens. I think out of the box, many of them are for 90 days. And indeed, with the Snowflake breaches that we worked, was it last year? Some of those are up to 6 months. So reducing those, certainly one of them. Using good endpoint detection response tools to understand that those things have happened, so that mitigations can be taken. And again, education for the users. A lot of these click fix techniques are, you know, relying on the fact that people are just following the security prompts that they think that they're following. So user education there is a really good way to stop them. And the last thing I'd say is, it may be annoying for the users. It'd be very annoying if this was sort of forced on me. But disabling the use of the run bar, the run command, that is another good one to stop the click fix and fake capture techniques that we're seeing the last couple of months.
That's crazy. Well, thank you so much. I know we only have a couple of minutes here. Let's run through this. I know, Ed, George, you want to take like every other, just kind of go through real quick and talk about what we can do to protect ourselves about some of the stuff we talk. If we can cover this in the next minute and 30 seconds, I'm timing you. Ready? Go.
Do you want me to go first, Ed?
Yeah, go first. Yeah.
I'll go first. I've got the easy one to start with. So on the Kroll website, there's 10 essential cybersecurity controls for increased resilience. Really good read, really fast, some really good tips in there.
Great. And then audit, assess, and review. It's always good to make sure that you're doing constant testing, constant review, always having like those backups and knowing what that'll look like, reviews of your logs, and making sure that everything is being reviewed. Particularly best if it's like a third party review at that with another set of eyes.
Yep, I seem to get all the info stealer ones. Keeping private keys private. Yep, info stealers will go after cryptocurrency access tokens and private keys as well. That's kind of what they were designed for. So making sure that those are secure. If they absolutely need to be on a digital system, consider making it air-gapped or like a cold wallet or something like that. Or even a good old piece of paper, write that down and put it in the safe.
Look out for the big fish. It's always like the crypto scammers are always looking to trick people. So it's always good just to take that quick pause and make sure to legitimize the communication that you're getting, and knowing who the sender is before actually rushing. They'll use stress to make somebody act hastily. It's always good to make sure you just take that extra few minutes to like legitimize the communication.
And again, a very topical one. We've seen a lot of this sort of stuff going on in the UK retail sector recently. Knowing who you're working with, knowing your third parties, talk to them and follow procedures if you're contacted out of band by someone reporting to be from one of those organizations.
That was huge. Check that box. That's huge. Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
No, you're good. I'm going to bill you that time. Act fast, contradicting the last thing I said about taking that quick moment. But like as far as like if there is like an incident, it's always better to start acting quickly to make sure that you have minimize the impact and minimize anything any damages to your reputation, the company, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And last but by no means least, and we've got so many tips on there. They're going off the end of the slide almost. Making sure you're keeping up to date with the regulatory requirements. Lots of changes, as Ed talked about earlier. They're going to keep changing. Keeping up to date with those rules and regulations, very, very important.
Awesome. Thank you. We did a little more, so I had to punish you guys. Went a minute over, but that's okay. We talked about a lot today, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want to say a big thank you for everyone who has taken the time to tune in. We hope you found this session informative today. We focused on an industry specific and really hope you enjoyed it. If you like the webinar, there is a condensed version we provide on a weekly basis. Listen to George, Ed, myself, and some other the elite TI team. We discuss current trends, weekly current trends on the briefing, and then it's called In the Trenches because we are in the trenches, and it's published on YouTube every week, which is fantastic. From there, if you want to mature your security and learn about the hot topics, that's where you go. Axel, I don't know if you're able to put that link in the chat. That'd be fantastic. Or you can email us at cti@kroll.com, and we can provide you the link at any of the sessions, but it's also on YouTube. When you leave the briefing, you're going to be directed to a short survey. If you wouldn't mind sparing a few moments, we'd love to hear what you think. We look at that. We shape our future webinars based upon what people say. So please go ahead and put that in the survey. On June 6th, we love to have you take a read. And again, contact us. We want to know some feedback. What do you guys want to hear? We have so much going on at Kroll with all these trends and things we're seeing. Love to give it to you. We push out all types of reports. cti@kroll.com. If you're interested about any of these reports, want to learn more on TI or just how to protect yourselves and be better, right? That's the most important thing possible. So let's be ahead of these bad guys. Let's make sure that we catch them all when we can, support law enforcement, global law enforcement, and do everything that we can from here. Really, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, George. Thank you, Axel, Anna, Savannah, and Brett, who would put this together in the background. Really appreciate everything. We'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's Hamburger and Jello Day. Have some hamburgers on me. Go ahead and just email kroll@cti.com, and I'll see if I can give you a big clap certificate. And we hope to see you again for one of the future briefings. Thank you again, everybody. Take care.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.